begin, so I'ma let the beat drop.
No, what is that one?
It's the same song.
Oh My Gosh by Usher?
Yeah, as they say in the beginning.
Oh.
We were singing the same song.
Okay.
Welcome to season 4 of the Get Set podcast.
You do.
No, we're keeping that all in. Welcome to season 4 of the Get Set podcast, an old girls entertainment production. We are excited, enthused, ecstatic, thrilled to be on the podcast today and every day we're on the pod, sharing our experiences as women in the TV and film industry.
Woo! Yeah. Yes. First of all, thanks for coming back to this season.
Or welcome
Yeah.
if this is your first introduction to us.
True. We have so many. If this is your first introduction, we have a backlog of episodes, so catch up. You have many hours.
We're starting
of
off
listening
great.
experience. Yeah. So, there's time to catch up. Anyways, today we are delving into the evolution of the multi-hyphenate and the changing stigma around what it means to be one in the industry today, because it wasn't always accepted as it is today.
Correct. And we, in the process of recording this 4th season, we noticed that the multi-hyphenate is a theme that was constantly coming up with our guests, that I am this, and this is my breadwinning role within the industry, but I also really love this, and I do producing, or
I had to do this to then become this, or whatever it is.
And this helped me network and meet people in the role that I really want to be doing, but because I had this previous role, I had all this experience that I was able to talk educatedly about with people. So let's get into it. The definition of a multi-hyphenate, I mean, just with a Google search, it's a person with multiple professional roles or skills, typically in creative or entertainment fields, and is known for excelling in more than one of them. A person who combines several careers or roles, especially in arts or entertainment, often connected by hyphens. So that's where the term multi-hyphenate comes from. I'm an actor / producer / whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. And we also want to say, when we're talking about multi-hyphenate, I think the definition that we're running with today is actor / producer, someone who's a props person, actor, someone who's like working within the industry, and the hyphen is still connected into the entertainment industry. Now, again, we've kind of like talked about this before, where it's like, if you have background where you were a nurse, but now you're trying to become a writer for Grey's Anatomy, that is
totally applicable.
But I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a nurse / writer. I would say like I'm a writer, put that forward, because that's really what you're trying to pursue, with a background in nursing and all of this. And by the way, that's going to freaking help me get that job in Grey's Anatomy, because I have all this experience and know the definitions and the real world experience of what a nurse would,
and how to even say these words of medications,
let alone write them and like try to apply them to, a fictional story. So that's something that we want to kind of like preface, a little bit. Like, we're not necessarily talking about our side gigs or past careers.
Like, we're not saying I'm an actor - waiter, unless you're, we're just, isolating the entertainment industry and multi-hyphenates within the entertainment roles.
Yeah.
But the reason why we titled this Taboo to Vital is because what Jessica and I were taught in college, and even, evolving up to now, is to, like you said, pick a lane and stick with it.
Exactly. And the biggest thing, I think, is really marketability. Like, at least the reasons we were taught.
Correct.
Marketability, in that when you are, especially when you're first starting out, right, and you come across someone who may be willing to give you experience or help or whatever, and let's say they're in post-production, and you come up to them and say, I want to write, direct, and edit, and do props, and like you have this like all this stuff of what you really, really want to do or are doing in your like small role. That may not be best way to have an introduction or like
Pitch yourself.
pitch yourself, because they're going to like look at you and be like, okay, how can I help this person? They want to,
Do
yeah, they
everything.
do want to edit, but like, do they really want to do edit because they have all this other stuff that they want to do? I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things of kind of edit, I guess too, kind of you can edit your multi-hyphenate depending on who you're talking to, which I think is totally valid.
I think 2 or 3 is solid. I think
Yeah.
what people were steering us away from is when you say you want to do, it's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do
Yeah.
feature films or TV or commercials? I want to do everything.
Yeah.
And yes, there are people that do everything, especially now.
Mhm.
But if you say you do everything, are you really a master in any of those?
Right.
Like, so you want to market yourself as someone who is knowledgeable and confident in your skills when you get approached for a position, but not to shy away from, if you're hired on something as an actor, to say, hey, I'm an actor, but I am a writer as well. But because you're currently I'm currently working on a pilot, or
Mhm.
you don't have to have sold a pilot, or you don't have to have sold a feature film script, but you are currently working towards that goal.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think 2 or 3 is a safe bet, but
Yeah.
5 is
Yeah.
is giving green vibes.
Right, right. And I mean, that being said, I think too, there's a reason people say originally, like, I want to do all these different things, is because maybe they don't know 100% what they want to do, or they want
Right.
to like, and that's fine. I think it's cool to like figure it out. I mean, I was reluctant when I first started out to like say, I want to do X, Y, or Z, because I didn't know, like, maybe I do want to do X more than, and when I get into the position, I really don't want to do Z. So I get that, but I think either way you do have to choose something to like start off with and go from there. Also, I do think like the history of multi-hyphenate, especially I think when it comes to like acting and I don't know, I guess like any power job is really like consolidating where the power goes, if that makes sense. Like I feel like the producers who are strictly producers don't really want an actor producer coming in or and like telling them what to do. Or I mean, I think that could be a thing. I honestly think that that's part of it as to why
I
it was a
mean,
taboo in the industry for so long.
yes, in terms of why it's a taboo. And let's get into a solid example, a real day example.
Which honestly, I understand why
I
it could
understand
be.
completely. Let's get into the Blake Lively of it all. So I'm just going to pull straight from what she said. I'm not making any claims. And let's just throw out
It's all
allegedly.
yeah.
But Blake Lively in an interview, just quoting straight from that interview,
She
allegedly,
said.
she said, I mean, we read it and I dictated straight from there. But she said this, when I went into meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be an actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. And that is someone's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
That is I think that's the type of scenario that gives multi-hyphenates a bad rap, is because you're going in there disingenuous about your
It just sounds
intentions.
deceitful.
It sounds deceitful.
Which it is. It is deceitful. Especially I would say with her, I mean, in the beginning, I guess whatever, like if she when she doesn't have a name, who cares, right? Like if you want to have more power and you don't, like whatever. But once you are Blake Lively or like, I don't know, like a Harrison Ford or someone who has like a bigger name and quote unquote power in the industry, or I guess I should say a marketable name, because at the end of the day, that's what it is like when you have a bigger name, that means you have an audience and that's power behind
like
you.
if you're already
to
signed
pull.
on to a project and it goes or doesn't go because your name is on it, that's monetarily devastating.
Right.
But
And
also,
so
I don't think it's
that's
good
the
for
deceitful.
anyone. If
Yeah.
I was on even a
But
smaller
I guess
project,
I guess
and I was an actor saying, I want to come, I think this is how the character would feel. You need to change the ending. Like I should be, I would fire me.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
I guess
You have to know your function and be in service the way you were hired.
True. I guess what I mean is it wouldn't necessarily be that big of a deal in that like they are just fireable at that point. You know what I mean? Like you can just fire them and like I mean obviously it's a little different if you're like already starting to be in production, which I think maybe that's the issue.
If it's a student or a student project or anyone that has a timeline. Like I hired you, I put my faith in you, and you are coming in saying that. I mean, and this is not just for actors.
I guess
Like,
it's
let's
if
say
you're
for,
holding the project hostage in like any way. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
if you're allegedly holding that
well,
project hostage, yes.
no, I mean in general, like, right? If you, even if it's like a smaller production and you're like, I'm not going to say that because as I think the character wouldn't say that, and then you like filming has stopped, that's like
Detrimental.
that's detrimental, right? So
Uh,
I don't know.
all that to say, that's what has given multi-hyphenates a bad name, is
Right.
I hired you for this one thing, and now you're coming in with all your different hats. So I think the best way to mitigate that and give all of us multi-hyphenates better street cred, which I
Mhm.
think now multi-hyphenates are something that's praised and not, well, also we'll get into it, but essential instead of
Mhm.
being taboo, is that knowing your role and serving your function, and of course speaking out if anything is unsafe or whatever, but you are in service to whatever your role is that you got hired for.
Right. Basically, even if you're a multi-hyphenate, you may not be using all hyphenates on every project. So
Correct.
if you're hired as an actor, even if you're an actor producer in general, if you've just been hired as an actor, you are an actor.
Right.
I mean, you can kind of state like when you get signed on, I'm interested in also producing. Like maybe there's a negotiation that can happen. You can start producing on it. Who knows?
Mhm.
Or like say you're on a show, right? Like we see this all the time. We have actors that have been on shows for years and years and then they finally get to direct an episode.
Right.
Right. So that's like a different sort of multi-hyphenate where you can finally like use that skill. However, that doesn't mean that they're directing any episode that they come on just because they are a director. You let the people who have been hired for those roles like actually be those roles and do their job.
Because imagine that you are an hired on to edit something, and you show up on set because you are also, let's say, a director, and you show up on set and the director is directing and you're like, actually, I think it would be easier for me editing wise, and I think a better directorial decision if we just went like this. You'd either be fired or never worked with again with those people.
Yeah.
I didn't even think we were going to say this takeaway during this episode, but it's so important. Like, know your hat and know your role.
Yeah.
The reason why you got hired, because like we said, it's about building relationships. People have hired me as producers who have solely worked with me because I was a good actor. And they're
Yeah.
like, hey, she takes this shit serious. She comes to set every day prepared. She brings up great ideas as an actor. So like, yeah, I'll take my chance with her as a producer. Sure. I mean, we did that.
Yeah.
You just knew me as an actor.
Yeah.
And then you and Hannah wanted to bring me on as a producer for
Mhm.
Old Girls.
Well, think of Rochelle. I think I think she was season 2, right? Rochelle Taylor. She was a script supervisor. She's an excellent script supervisor and is getting to direct episodes of television.
Purely because people
Because
appreciate the way she works.
Appreciates how hardworking, how great of a script supervisor she is. And like throughout the years, she's brought up little like suggestions here and there, because usually whenever you're like working on TV, like there is room, especially as a script supervisor, to kind of pitch like little something or other to directors. It's their choice to take it or leave it. However, you can kind of like, I don't know, make known your ideas, give or take every now and then, obviously
After you've already established a professional working relationship.
Right, exactly. But so she's been able to do that, and now she's getting, she's directing episodes.
Yeah.
And she's become a multi-hyphenate because she's put in work, like the work and the dedication to her one script supervisor role and kicking ass on it, and people appreciated her work, and now she's getting bumped, so
that is the reason why it's been taboo, and the bad stigma behind it is because people have given it a bad name.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why people have given actors a bad name. Actors don't show up on time. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We do show up on time. The good ones show up on time.
Yeah.
All right. The good ones come with their lines memorized and come prepared. And you know what I mean? So it's those few bad instances that give it a taboo or a bad stigma. But really, right now, being a multi-hyphenate is not just preferred by some people. We take the stance that it's vital and necessary in order to progress your career forward.
Right. One, we think that it's definitely, kind of switching gears now. It is vital and necessary for sure.
In our experience.
Mainly because, one, when you're first starting out, oftentimes when you're making your own projects, you're wearing multiple hats because you have to. I've usually always just said, I'm just like, especially when I was starting out with just, the few short films that I've done and everything, I was like, I'm just a director or like a writer director on it, right? I'm like, I don't produce, I'm not a producer. But inevitably, to actually get stuff kicked off the ground, I am producing it. I'm either like funding it or like producing it and, helping organize stuff. Like, because I have like maybe one producer on it, and I would probably really realistically need like three full-time producers to be able to like actually take on the workload. Yeah, it is like you just when you're first starting out and doing your own projects, you do wear multiple hats. Another thing why, especially in like the state of the industry, it's really good to have like multiple skills that you can lean back on, because maybe all your contacts of like being a PA, like a set production assistant, are like tapped out because none of them are working, or they've already got shows that they've like, established PAs and whatever. Then maybe that's when you like tap on your acting side or whatever. Or maybe you're an actor, you're not getting any like auditions for 2 months. And so then you have to like be like, okay, well, let me produce something over here, so you can kind of lean on
Or
your
let me
different skill
PA.
sets. Yeah.
Yeah, I think another one is too, like, what if you're, a set photographer or, and there is a strike or a pandemic or like whatever there is. But if you can shoot headshots, or if you can do family portraits, or if, any of that stuff, you can still be in your creative field, and you could still propel your career forward and forge relationships and network.
Let's be
While
honest.
yes,
That's why we started this podcast,
100%.
because we have, even if we've been working in the industry, sometimes, I know like when I was set PAing and stuff, a lot of times, like, yeah, I'm like a cog in the machine, I'm on set and everything, but I don't really have any creative control. Not
Right.
really, like I'm helping manage and continue things on, and there's a creative aspect to it. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying, I think the actors should, have this intent or whatever it is. But this is a way, like the podcast itself is a way to like meet with people and create. And same with our production company. It's like, yeah. So
It's a way for us to stay creative if like we don't get hired on to something at the moment, or if we're not having something, we're not on set today.
Yeah, we're always working on something. That's what's been so nice.
Totally, totally. And this is, I don't want to lose people here, because I felt very strongly starting out that I don't want to do anything but acting. I was so strong about it. I was like, why? I worked so hard in this. I have my degree in this. I'm working my butt off just for this one thing. Why are you telling me that I have to write, or I have to be able to edit, or any of this stuff? Because you learn, or I did, I learned all of these different aspects in college, and it's, I knew I didn't want to do anything else. However, months at a time where I'm not hired onto a project, I personally feel really stagnant. And so that's when I started creating my own short films and producing them and bringing people together. And I actually found that I loved producing.
Yeah.
I think just, everyone was pushing me like, oh, what about directing, or what about writing? And those two things to me, so I think it's also just finding something that's going to make you happy in the meantime, if you're not working in the role that you want to be in,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's always like a means to an end too with some of it, because part of it is like, how can I make money or create opportunity for myself
Right.
in the industry without actually doing the absolute one thing that I want to be doing?
And maybe looking for opportunities to growth. Now, because you said Rochelle, I'm just going to run with that. Being a script supervisor, oh my God, you're on set all day, every day.
And then you have work afterwards, which it's like 14-hour workday.
Totally. But the amount of stuff that, that was a masterclass in watching people get directed, or watching actors do their work. And there are so many opportunities like that. Where you can still, I'm sure she picked up stuff directorially, especially on a TV show, when she was watching so many different directors per episode come in and out. Like, ooh, I liked the way that person worked with them. Oh, I realized that the way they were speaking really didn't work for that actor.
And the biggest thing too is with the script supervisor is you're watching and making sure that you have enough coverage to bring to the editor.
Totally.
Right? So like, you want to make sure that when you're doing it and taking the notes and looking at what's actually being shot, you're getting your wide, your medium, and your close up, or making sure that, the editor has something to cut. So she's already thinking like directorially in like the need of what the editor is going to need, and the producers. So yeah, you're totally just saying, at least at the very minimum, the actual function of directing.
Totally. I mean, like I said, it was something that I needed to get over that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in this industry, in this climate, I'm just not going, if I want to be successful, I'm just not going to be an actor. Solely.
Yeah.
Solely. I'm not solely going to be an actor.
Well, and let me just say too, I think that I know you said I might lose people. I think that's super relatable in general. Like, I mean, eventually I would love to just, I've said this before, like, I do like writing. I don't, and I mean, I like, I don't know, I've grown to love it, I guess. But
Yeah.
originally I always wanted to direct. And so I started writing as a means to an end because everyone wants to direct in film school. So you had to write your own stuff to
Have
have
opportunity
something
to
to
direct.
direct. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So now I found that I'm like, actually, I want to write and direct and like be like an authorship, have an authorship of stuff. But I mean, well, an auteur, whatever.
And I think the main thing is not to also be surprised when you're asked to do things that are not just that sole role, especially in when you're new and coming up, or in the indie world, like indie filmmaking, because everyone is essentially a marketing person now.
Mm-hmm.
You're a marketing person of your own company, or you're asked to live stream when the show goes live, or you're asked to, I was, a I assisted a set medic as I was the lifeguard on set for this feature film that was shot a year ago.
Which she is a certified lifeguard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I am. I have the
That's her
qualifications for
sidekick.
that.
Or
Right.
one of her sidekicks.
Was, yeah. And so and so they reached out to everyone who worked on the production saying, "Hey, we really need, we're entering into film festivals and it'd be really great if we had a larger digital presence, if you could help us shoot this out." And so I think that's like maybe a non-traditional way of multi-hyphenate, but it's totally marketing and PR work is
Mm-hmm.
totally another role.
Yeah.
And is totally another gig. And content creation. Like, you could
Mm-hmm.
be an editor and a content creator. You're a multi-hyphenate.
Well, and then yeah, there's like, I guess, multi-hyphenate in that like I can edit for, or I have edits for commercial, social media, film and television. Like, even that is technically multi-hyphenate depending on like, or
So many
reality
different
television,
avenues.
right? Like,
Yeah.
all of those different things are technically like a different form of editing. One, in terms of like actual format, in terms of how you like format the the picture itself, but then also in terms of like how the story is actually constructed. Like, your reality TV and your documentary is really constructed in the edit, like the story is constructed in the edit versus like, TV and film where there's actually like a shot list and it's coming from a script. So yeah, even that can be technically like a multi hyphenate if you think about it.
Because the skills are so vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I think a main takeaway is like not to be, ashamed is such a strong word, but I felt it. I felt like, or embarrassed about
Mm-hmm.
saying the multitude of things that you're a part of. But
Right. I mean, I kind of did that too because I'm like, and I will kind
it's
of
still there.
go,
That
yes,
taboo feeling is still there. I'm not
'cause
allowed to
again,
be more than one thing.
right,
But you
exactly. And
are.
I do think that is kind of part of like, maybe it is like you should kind of be a little wary to, again, depending on who you're talking to. If you're talking to just a writer and you want to write and direct, maybe you like kind of skew it of like, especially if you're like trying to just start out. I think like being like, I want to write, and because then that's how you're going to
Market yourself.
And then like how we said with Rochelle is like, you hone your craft and hone that side of the craft, and then maybe you're like writing really really well and you're writing for a television show. I mean, I've worked on a television show where the writers who have written, multiple episodes then end up directing an episode. So maybe that's how you like hone your craft, right? You're like, oh, I want to script supervise and direct, but like you're talking to a script supervisor. You say, I want to be a script supervisor, and you hone that craft. And then eventually you end up directing because you've like done so well and you've talked to the producers, after a season, and you say, hey, in the future, I would love to have the opportunity to direct if that's, available or whatever. So
So there are a couple tips that we have about
Yeah.
positioning yourself in a smart way while being a multi-hyphenate.
Yeah.
And that's, putting that title first for the role that you're currently going for, or the role that you're currently in. So, and I mean, I will always say that I'm an actor first. However, when me and Jess do like marketing or networking events, also because we are, in development for our first feature and we are very heavy in the producing side of things right now. I'm not acting in it yet. We're not in production. I will, when you on your label maker where you put your name, I'll put producer first and then actor. Also because I feel like people will take me more seriously as a producer because I put that first. And people are honestly more willing to talk to me because if people see the word actor first, I feel like they think I'm like, oh, hungry for, I just want to be a part of that. It's the stigmas of the different roles, and it is what it is. And maybe I'm just projecting that and no one feels that way. But in certain rooms, when I'm going there to network for a feature film that we're producing, I'm putting producer first.
Right.
Just like you said.
Yeah. I also think too, I guess for acting, so much of it, and I guess it's like kind of, I don't know. I think especially for acting, so much of it is auditioning, waiting to be called. And then if you finally get the chance to call, that's when you can finally put your thumbprint on like that role. But like you wait to be called. You know what I mean?
Unless you create it for yourself or unless friends create roles for you.
Right, exactly. So I feel like if you like go to a networking event and you're like as actor, when you're then networking with people who are kind of like actively trying to pursue their career and like having to actually create certain roles for themselves, like a writer, even if I'm not hired as a writer, I'm still in the background writing my scripts and trying to pursue, agents or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah.
So like the thing is like as an actor, I think maybe there's like less to chat about with other creatives on who are networking other than actors. You know what I mean? Like, if you're
talking about professional, I mean, yeah, you can always connect on a personal level, if you're into hiking or something, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, well, cause that's the biggest, I guess, fear question or like,
cause I feel like
at networking events or at Thanksgiving, it's like, what are you currently working on? And if actors are just like, I'm not cast in anything at the moment. They could always say they're in class if they're in class, but let's say you're not in class right now. Let's say like, you could be like, oh yeah, I'm just, I'm taking workshops or I'm working on stuff at home to make sure I'm prepped for my next audition. There are ways to phrase it, but you and I are just always proponents of getting yourself out there and of propelling yourself forward. I don't know. I don't want to shit on my actor friends because but literally all of my actor friends are multi-hyphenates. Yeah. I do not know an actor who is not a multi-hyphenate.
Yeah.
I just don't. Because their mentality and their mindset is, I'm not going to wait for something to come my way.
Right. Well, because so much of it's that sit around and wait or hurry up and wait, right? So like that waiting is agonizing. Like,
sure is. Sure is.
Yeah. So I mean,
when you're not filling it with something, whether it's a podcast, content creation, writing, or just if you are a kick-ass networker, and some people are, and you can just that's PR. That's a PR job.
Well, also let's remember, right? I guess if we really think about it too, I'm a writer, director, podcast host, editor, producer, server.
Stop. I guess
daughter.
I guess
like if you really, you could like list all your hyphenates and like all of your quote unquote identities, right? Career identities.
Everyone has multiple. You probably just don't know about
has multiple. And so I guess too, when we're talking about tailoring it, you do want to, I don't know. I feel like we've kind of been like a little like, just list them all, but actually just list a few.
I said 2 to 3. I said from the beginning 2 to 3.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be what you're actually pursuing and what you want at that moment. More than, anything, I guess.
Yeah. So like when I go to mom events, I say, I put mom in there as a multi-hyphenate. Yeah. I'm like, I'm a mom, an actor and producer. Yeah. When I go to a film and TV networking event, I say I'm a producer actor. And then if someone's like, oh, do you have kids? I'm like, oh, yeah, I have kids. Do you have kids too? And then we usually hit it off really well. But yeah.
I'm like, I have plants.
Yeah, you're a plant mom. You're a plant mom. But it's about, and a great auntie.
Yeah.
But it's about positioning yourself well, but not being scared to let people know that you're good at more than one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, this is a caveat that we shouldn't have to say ever, but just also don't lie.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I edit this podcast with you, I'm never going to tell people that I'm an editor. First of all, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And as soon as we can outsource that, we fucking
It's gone.
will. It's gone. It is gone. But fuck me editing.
Yeah.
I love everyone else. Also, fuck content creation. As soon as I can outsource anything,
marketing.
Fuck marketing.
It's out.
It's out. We are getting someone. As soon as we can outsource it, we will.
Yeah.
So even though we do all these things,
right,
position yourself with what you are good at, but also what you want to do.
Yeah.
When the guests,
I guess the multi-hyphenates that you do but don't necessarily want to do are like skills that you put on a resume versus what your multi-hyphenate is.
Right.
Like, you know how you can, you can edit, you can do marketing. That's not necessarily what you want to do.
But me saying I'm an editor is a flat lie.
Right.
I mean, I do edit, but I'm not an editor, and I do not have the skills for that.
Yeah.
I have the iMovie skills.
Which is perfect for this podcast.
Which is perfect. Yeah.
It's doable.
It's doable. We're making it work. We're in season 4.
One thing that we have here for tips is address yourself as those multi-hyphenates consistently. The ones that you are really wanting to pursue, like Mo, you were saying, your actor producer or your producer actor, but you always are those two.
And looking in the future, I think I will always be those two.
Right.
I see myself having, of course, my acting career, but producing. I don't think producing is ever going to drop off because I do enjoy it, and we have our production company. Mm-hmm. And that is something I always say to our guests on the show too. Whenever they come on, they're like, oh, we always have a theme. We're talking to a DP. Mm-hmm. But guess what? Our DP, our director of photography, our cinematographer also wants to direct. So that's how we introduce them. Mm-hmm. That's how we talk about them. Yeah. Because this is, again, we're playing the long game. Mm-hmm. And no one's going to get mad at you if you change career paths 5 years down the line. But if you know that that's end game, address yourself as such now, as long as you're actively working towards it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was a producer if I'd never produced something.
Yeah.
I want, you know what I mean? I'd say, I would like to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that the don't lie aspect is really, and I think kind of rounding it back out to where we first started, is if you feel like you really want or really need to be a producer along with projects that you're acting in, you cannot just be auditioning for projects and get hired as an actor and be deceitful and then be and then like I said, hold the production up for hostage. Because especially when you're first starting out, you're just going to get fired, and then you're going to get blacklisted. No one's going to want to work with you. Now, I think
this goes hand in hand with because directors could do this too with the writers. Let's say the script is written and the director's like, I want to rewrite this entire scene. That's a disservice to the writer, and that's something that should have been talked about when you at table reads
there are protections with that, especially with when it comes with television. The director is a guest, the writer, and usually there's a writer on set who's quote unquote producing that film or that episode as well, and so they're kind of in charge, and those writer producers are the spokesperson for the showrunner, and the showrunner is really that's who's kind of really running the set versus the director. In film, it's a little bit different. Obviously, depending on if it's an indie film, I'm sure there are different, rules or different, there's exceptions for that. But for a film, a lot of times your film just gets purchased, or your script gets purchased from somewhere. They can do with it what they want. They can have another writer come in and rewrite a bunch of shit. You get credit for the story, but then someone else gets the writing credit because they've rewritten the entire script. And then the director on the day can be like, let's fix these lines. I mean, same with like, right, if you're in a comedy and you have people like the actors improving, they're not getting writing credit, even though technically they are writing. It's just they're improving something, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit for the writer director side of things. But if you're like a writer who's also producing it, let's say that for like an indie film, and then you say, actually, you have a director come in and you say, actually, I hate everything. I mean, I guess it's technically, especially if you're like the executive producer, you have, at the end of the day, you have say to do whatever you want. But if you come in and then and like say, actually, like midway through, you're like, I'm going to take over. I don't like the way this is going, whatever. My guess is you're not working with that director anymore,
I think also being honest with, if you are a multi-hyphenate on the same project and you are hired on as such, being honest with your team about your capabilities and limitations. So like we are in pre-production for a feature. We are 6 months to a year from actual production.
Mm-hmm.
And you've already said to me, guess what? As soon as we start filming, or probably like a couple of weeks before filming, Jessica's going to take off her producer hat and she's going to put on her director hat and she's going to rely on her other producers on the team because she's solely going to be focused on directing.
Yeah.
Same with me. We hired on another producer because Jessica is also directing it and I am acting in it. I'm the lead in it. So guess what? I want to be able to take off my producer hat and not worry how people are getting fed on set and not worry about,
the hours or whatever.
Whatever, people signing in and out and the trailers being delivered at a certain time, whatever it is. I want to be able to, do my best, acting performance because I'm solely focused on that.
Yeah.
And so that's where you have to be honest with yourself and the team if you are hired on for multiple roles on the same project. And I think that's so important, especially in the indie world, because you're just trying to make stuff happen. And a lot of it is a labor of love and you want it to be the best, but in order for it to be the best, and we're only human.
Yeah.
We're only human.
Yeah. Well, and you want to be able to prioritize the role that is most needed at that time, right? So like pre and post production, you can produce the hell out of it. I can't wait to see you do that. But when we're in production and you're acting in it, you better be acting in it, right? Like you don't want to be thinking about, like you said, all the other stuff when you have like an emotionally charged scene, unless,
right.
Maybe it's going like a really bad day and you have to cry. That's probably a really good channel, but
no, but you want to be focused on what you need to be and set those expectations and look inward and like figure out what that is. And that also, sometimes that takes time. Sometimes that takes, overworking yourself on a short to be able to be like, I'm never doing this again because this stretched me way too thin. But hopefully you can, discover those things before that happens.
Yeah. I also think that too, in that you can be a writer and then moving into a director, or a producer moving into actor. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, I'm a writer director.
And now it switches. I'm a director writer
on and like a writer director on everything I do, where I'm like, I'm doing both always. I mean, we talked with Laura Murphy last season. She's a writer director, but she's directing more right now, even though she has written in the past, and she still calls herself a writer director.
And she's writing stuff on her own.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Trying to get things sold as well.
Right, exactly. But like with the movie that we interviewed her for, she just directed it.
Right.
So
one can be at the forefront and you can still have multiple. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day too, again, just the state of the industry with who knows where jobs are coming from and whatever, like she is able to lean on both. She has the writing in the background that she's doing and trying to sell, but she's directing, commercials and films and all the other stuff in between.
And that's the reason why we love this podcast and why we do this podcast, is because, I mean, I know we're saying titles right now, like director, writer, like stereotypical titles that you hear in the industry. But like, we've had an FX artist on here, we've had a full-time PA background art person on here, and like we've said, a script supervisor, and there are so many different avenues into this industry that can forge the path that you want.
Yeah.
If you are interested in FX, I mean, you could be like, there's a title called like a food dresser or something.
Yeah.
And they literally like, I could imagine like the gooey like art of, making mashed potatoes look like ice cream. That's totally in that same kind of artistic world. Or if
Right.
you are set dressing something, yeah, but you really want to, get into like costumes, like you're still dealing with like, textures and fabrics and materials that, and building and a visual world for the screen that can totally translate into how you get your creative eye when you go to build costumes or pull things later
And
on.
I guess too, another thing that we should be talking about is all the different jobs that you're doing will always allow you to understand other aspects of the industry and what they're going to need, and it'll help you with your job, right?
Yeah.
So I always use this example, but as a kid, I was doing cheerleading. I used to be the flyer because I was little, and now I'm freaking tall. But I used to be the flyer, and then they moved me to the back spot, and then they moved me to base, and these are just all the little positions, right, on like in a pyramid or whatever in a stunt. And one thing that my mom said was like, what's really good is that all those positions, you've felt and like worked in all those different positions, so you know what everyone needs out of you.
You know what feels right. You know what doesn't feel right
Right.
for everyone. You know how to communicate that.
Exactly. So again, if you've been a PA, you know how, and like worked on a AD team, you know what everyone's going to need and all the different, all of that sort of thing. And if you've worked with props and then you want to go in AD, well, you know what the props people are going to like need and the time and all that. Same with hair and makeup. Like if you've worked, and I mean, obviously I really highly, highly doubt that you'll be doing all of this, all the different roles, because like that's a lot of unions to join and a lot of skills to get. But in one way or another, even if you've worked next to other people and you've talked to people and like worked on sets and in the industry, you kind of start to understand a little bit at least of like what everyone needs and communicate. But if you've actually worked those roles specifically, you know like what works and what doesn't specifically, so it all is going to add to your knowledge in how to do the job right.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with like if you were a PA and then you go and try to, or an AD, and then you go and try to direct, and you say, you now know that if you turn the room around and then you have to turn it back around, that's like a whole amount of time. Like you
different
have to,
lighting, different camera setup.
You kind of have to plan your shot list to make sure that you're not just like messing things up and adding more time than what,
Yeah, you're going to be so much better versed in how the whole machine functions, which is going to make you and your team function better.
Because I have seen that. I've seen directors who are like new at it, and who've
never been a PA before, never been an AD before.
Yes, exactly. Maybe they just come from like the writer's room or whatever, and they just like don't necessarily know how or understand like the reason, like the schedule of a set. Because the schedule of a set,
the shot list.
Right. And there's a shot list, right? But then there's the ordering of the shot list.
Right.
So you can't be like, we're going to start in a wide on this side of the room, and then we'll go and do a wide on the other side of the room, which obviously that would be weird. And then we're going to go back to the other side of the room and get our medium, and like go back and forth.
There's just some things like technically that don't
it would
make
add
your time
so
efficient.
much time.
Sure.
And of course time means money, all of that. So yeah, all the different jobs. And you can't be like approving props on, ahead of time, and then on the day be like, that yellow cab is awful. And although that wouldn't be props, but whatever, that yellow cab is like not it. Can we get a blue cab? And it's like, no, we can't just fucking get a blue cab. Like, we can get it tomorrow, but not right now. Like,
and then we have to change around the whole shot list and the schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no. So you can't have, and that's like an indecisive director too, which is just awful. Like, you can't be doing that.
So if you are, side note, but so if you are someone whose task is like to do the schedule and to build and to, for the day, that's going to help you out so much if you go on could help you out as an actor. It would help you out as a director. It would help you out as an editor. I mean, it'll help in so many different avenues.
And as an actor too, right? Like that's another thing. Is if you've never been
Oh,
on
I
set
send
before,
Jessica my shot list and my schedule, and she's like, "Oh yeah, based on your schedule, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Wow, glad that I have a friend on the other side of the camera because I would never have picked up on that."
Yeah, she means like call sheet.
That's what I meant. See,
Yeah.
even yeah,
because I was like, wait, you're not making your own shot list.
No.
No, but yeah, that's funny. For an actor, I mean, same thing, like knowing what the schedule is or whatever, or like knowing how a set works, right? Because if you're in your wide and you're doing your thing, you want to be able to communicate with the director or whatever. Like if you're in your wide, right, and you're like doing your scene, maybe it's like a comedy scene or something, you're just eating at the dinner table. And then you get into your medium and your close up, and then you have an idea of like, what if my character falls off the chair?
Oh my God, it's not going to work. You already shot the medium and the wide.
Right. I mean, depending on like how it would work, but then you like say, you go to the director, hey, I have an idea. Can we like have it fall off off the chair or whatever it is, you know? And maybe it's brilliant. Maybe they're going to be like, you know what, that was the fucking best idea. Like, that's amazing. Like, we will sacrifice and go. But like, if you have that idea ahead of time,
I've never seen that happen.
Whatever. Maybe maybe that's the reason why they broke their leg. And that's like a pivotal moment. We didn't have it before. Who knows? Anyways. And they'll go back and like recreate that wide or something, or at least get like a wider shot so you can see the action of falling off. But
Sure.
If you had that idea beforehand, or if you like had that idea already brewing, but you were just like waiting to like have that opportunity, like you would want to like voice that opinion earlier so that way they could plan for it.
Totally.
Anywho, those are our thoughts.
Those are our thoughts on multi-hyphenates and how important and special they are.
Multi-hyphenate away. Do your thing. They can
Don't
change,
lie.
edit your multi-hyphenates.
Find what you are passionate about in this industry. Again, that could change.
Yeah,
if you're
don't
not sure,
deceive.
don't deceive. If you're not sure, try different avenues, and be vocal about what you have skills in and are passionate for, and lead with that. And
do what you need to do to get the job, but not deceive. Do what you need to do though to get the job. If you're like,
but also being a good person,
right? Like if you're an actor props, which this is foreshadowing someone that's coming up in the podcast for earlier or for later in the season. But if you're an actor who also works in props and you're, really pursuing your acting thing, but like you also have worked years in props, and you need a job, then just say I'm a props person and freaking get props. Because my guess is you're not going to be like, as a props master, being like, I know that actor's kind of doing shit. I'll take over. No, you're not going to do that as a props master. Absolutely not. So you can still lean into your being a props master. It's fine. Like, get your job, do what you need to do to get the job.
Basically the stigma around you being able to do two things successfully is true. It's not a bad thing. It's not an uncommon thing. It's actually very common today to be successful and be able to do two things.
It's kind of needed.
Look at musicians. Look at SZA being in a lead in a feature movie with Keke Palmer. She is now an actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is all of these main celebs that we see working right now are multi-hyphenates.
Yeah. Well, and okay, so here's another thing, right? Is when we used to think of actors back in the day, they would have like the big three. They could act, sing, and dance.
True.
So they were, multi-hyphenates even in that aspect.
Judy
We
Garland.
just always were like, but you're only an actor. Like you're only going to be singing, dancing, and acting. Like you're only a performer, right?
Did he sing? Did he sing?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Sure did.
Singing
in the rain, baby.
Duh.
But yeah, so I guess, I guess maybe it has always been a multi-hyphenate. It's just been the people in power wanting to keep certain people in certain lanes.
And I think when you're newer too, that, I think it's fear. It's like people don't want to be deceived. Like, don't tell me you're good at this and have you not be good at this only because you want to work.
Yeah.
Which is why we're hitting home so much that like build those skills, see what you like, but don't lie about things. And yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
We said it. But so our fourth season, thank you so much for being here. We're going to have amazing guests on the show this season. We've already recorded some of them. So some episodes will be me and Jess getting on our soapbox like this. And but really just trying to build community and help you out and, talk through some things ourselves as we're figuring it out.
And also this season, we're doing some takeaways from the interview episodes over on our Patreon. So head over to Patreon at patreon.com
/ Old Girls Entertainment.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're rusty. Welcome back to season 4. So head over there, follow us on Instagram at Old Girls Entertainment, and freaking kill it. DM us, tell us who you want to hear from next.
We have so
jobs
you
want to hear from.
We're gonna if there's a specific role that you'd like to hear from on the podcast, we love reaching out to our friends and industry professionals and people that we've worked with to pick their brain on how they got to where they got to, and any takeaways and fallacies that that they can demystify this whole process and help us find different avenues of getting where we need to get.
And don't forget to rate and review the podcast.
Oh my gosh,
spread the word.
We get so excited
if
you rate us the 5 stars, and then if you review, like, imagine just leaving a little sweet little comment to your old girls.
Also, if you want to share.
Sharing?
Oh
my gosh. We'll be screaming over here.
I know.
It'll be great. It'll be such a wonderful moment.
It's gonna be so exciting. It'll hurt our bones. I don't know. In a good way.
Anyways, go get set.
Thank you so much for coming back to our community for the 4th season of the Get Set podcast.
And if you're brand new to the pod, welcome. We couldn't be happier that you've tuned in with us.
This season, we tackle the art of multi-hyphenate and how to make networking work for you.
Speaking of networking, we have major news coming soon. We can't spill just yet, but when we do, the tea will be piping hot.
So hot. I can't wait.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Old Girls Entertainment and join our community over on Patreon at patreon.com/Old Girls Entertainment for our brand new After Hours special where we debrief some of our favorite takeaways from each episode with our fabulous guests this season.
We have exclusive industry tips, templates, terms, and more
to help you
get set.